Hey there, my name's Yasmin and I'm 32. I lived with someone who I would call crazy. And I don't use that term lightly either. My husband was truly something special as he would constantly berate and emotionally abuse me. This all started when he lost his job and had to rely on me financially to pay the bills. I work from home as a content creator and affiliate marketer. In this day and age, such jobs sell. And unfortunately, my husband was still of the firm belief that what I did for work was not considered work. He held these beliefs whilst maintaining the very accoladed and envied position as CEO for a firm. Unfortunately, he was let go of due to a very disheartening situation that led the company to completely go down and crash into flames. Ever since then, I've been holding down the fort and providing for my man, and it was during this time that he saw just how much money I was making. Even as an up-and-coming affiliate marketer and content creator, the amount of money I received was a lot. I would be making upwards of $15,000 per month, but Oliver didn't pay much mind to this when he was at his job, because he thought that I wasn't making money at all. In his eyes, I was just his silly little housewife. Every time he would ask me for something, I could tell that his manhood was bruised, which I sympathized with for some time, as no one should be made to feel helpless and completely dependent on someone else. However, his bitterness was growing, and it became a complete turn-off not too long after he started his antics of being rude and disrespectful to me. What would make matters worse is that his mother, Beatrice, who he loved most in the world, had no idea of him getting sacked. She was still under the impression that he was providing most of the household income, but that couldn't be further from the truth. She too, like him, was under the impression that what I did for work didn't constitute real work, and so this was a lovely facade that Oliver tried to keep up. When I first sympathized with my husband's feelings of dejection and melancholy, I agreed to play along with the idea that he was still working hard and that I was still relying on him. But recently, I've been battling with the thoughts of just blurting out the truth because I genuinely don't appreciate the way he's been treating me as of late. Yasmin, just to let you know, Mom will be here in a couple of hours, so you need to prepare something for her. I think it would be better if you'd prepare it for her since I'm working. I have several deadlines I need to meet, and all you're doing is playing video games all day. Begrudgingly, he went to the kitchen and prepared a meal for his mother, and by the time he was done, she arrived. "Oh, my lovely baby boy, how are you?" "Oh, just wonderful, Mom. Had a long day at work today, and now I'm exhausted, but never too tired to see you." "And Yasmin, where is she?" "Oh, she's just in the study, taking up a lot of space as usual for her work projects." They cackled like two villains. But little did they know I was already on my way to the front door when I heard the doorbell, and I heard everything that they were saying. Nonetheless, I held my tongue and strode in, acting as if I didn't just hear their hurtful commentary. "Beatrice, you look lovely as usual." "Yasmin, you look fat. Are you getting fatter? Are you pregnant?" "No, Beatrice, I'm not pregnant. I suppose I might have put on a bit more weight, but such is the life of a lazy housewife, I suppose. I mean, she just sits around all day while I go out and work. Of course she'd get a bit plumper, Mom." I shot him a death glare, and while Beatrice was laughing at the joke, he gave me a sheepish look, as if to say, "Please take one for the team." We proceeded to make our way to the dining table where the food had been set. But to my surprise, everything looked awful. The table wasn't set properly. It was set haphazardly, as if the person, Oliver, setting the table was forced to do it with one hand tied behind their back and their eyes closed. "Goodness gracious me, Yasmin, how could you set the table like this? It looks awful." For once in my life, I agreed with her. Biting back the urge to expose this secret, I let out a, "I must have just been extremely tired. My apologies." All the while looking at Oliver intently, trying to figure out just how someone could be that stupid. I pulled his arm, forcing him to come with me to the discreet lounge area so that I could talk freely. Why would you set the table like that? To teach you a lesson. Excuse me? What lesson? You tried to embarrass me by making me do the work in the kitchen, so now I had to embarrass you in front of my mom to show you that I'm still the head of the household, and I'm still in charge around here. Just because you're the one who's making the money, it doesn't mean that you get to disrespect and demean me in this way. When I tell you to do something, you do it. Got it? He stomped off to rejoin his mother, leaving me with my jaw on the floor because I was completely shocked that I had just been spoken to in that way. If I'd known that Oliver would treat me this way when walking down that wedding aisle, I'll tell you that I would have turned around and walked in the opposite direction. After composing myself, I rejoined them. Yasmin, did you find this food in the bin? Why does it taste so awful? Honestly, with the way you treat me, I wouldn't be surprised if you were trying to kill me. Before I could even defend myself, Oliver interjected. Honestly, I don't even know where I found her, Mom. You'd think with spending all that time in the kitchen that she'd learn a thing or two, but no. They burst out laughing, and I just sat there, shocked that all of this was going down. The afternoon went on with us chatting casually on the table with occasional moments of beating down on my character as a lazy housewife. The insults were subsequently paired with endless praise for my hard-working husband. Little did Beatrice know. You know, I've wondered why Oliver hasn't taken me on a special vacation. With all that money you're making, you should take me somewhere. And it had to be somewhere lavish, like the Four Seasons. Feeling a little bit peeved and petty from everything that was going on between Oliver and me, I decided to chime in. Oh, how about a vacation to Dubai? It's not like we can't afford a night at the Burj Khalifa. Oliver shot me a look of hatred, and I shot one right back. But what happened next was the beginning of a very messy series of events. Oh, darling, this is a trip for working individuals. Poor thing, she probably won't understand. How do I put it in layman's terms? You won't be coming with us because, well, every day is like a vacation to you, right? It simply wouldn't be fair. Yes, Yasmin, it wouldn't make sense for the lazy housewife to go. They started cackling their evil and maniacal laughs once more, and at that point, I snapped. I stood up, hit my hands on the table to demand attention, and said, Actually, I do deserve to go on this vacation because I've been the one working tirelessly, day in and day out, just to provide for your selfish and inconsiderate son. Beatrice looked confused, and Oliver began to seethe. I don't care that you'll be mad at me. I have to speak my truth. Beatrice, your precious little boy, who is rich, had been laid off from work months ago. I've had to be working constantly just to provide. This table set that you're eating off of, I bought that with my money. The nasty food that was made, all from groceries that I bought with my money. And even the food itself was prepared by Oliver. He's the one who's been doing the cooking and cleaning. He barely does that either. It seems to me that he's the lazy housewife and not me. The house was completely silent, and then, after moments of deafening silence, something strange happened. Beatrice began to laugh. Oh my goodness, Oliver, you didn't tell me that your wife was a comedian. What? Oh, yes, Mother, she was just joking. You know, she's into things like dark humor and whatnot. You could have a career in stand-up, sweetie. That was absolute gold. I was stunned. I had nothing to say. Despite blurting out the truth, Beatrice was just too oblivious and so madly in love with her son that she simply couldn't believe what I said. To try and prove my point, I pulled up an article on the events of my husband getting laid off. But Beatrice didn't find this funny at all. Now, Yasmin, I'm no stick in the mud. I know how to get lit, as the kids of today say. I can laugh at a couple of dark jokes, but this is too far. How could you go as far as to make a whole fake website slandering my poor baby's name? That woman was too far gone. There was no way that I'd be able to convince her that her son was indeed unemployed and was relying on me for income. I tried explaining further, but she was visibly annoyed at this point. Enough! I won't listen to this any longer. You've taken things too far now. How can you slander your husband's good name and make it seem like he isn't taking care of his home? Just like you, Beatrice. I've also had enough. Oliver, tell her the truth right now. We both waited with bated breath for Oliver's answer. He finally said, I'm so disappointed in you, Yasmin. How could you take that joke this far? I was completely floored. I had nothing left for these idiots who were standing in my home. I simply couldn't speak. I was so shocked. In my state of complete disbelief, Beatrice began to yell and throw all sorts of insults in my direction, saying that I'm an awful housewife for making up a fake website that detailed my husband being let go. Do you know where you'd be without Oliver? On the streets. That's where. You have to take this down right this instant. I've been telling you that this isn't my website. It's a legitimate news place that shares local news. Nonsense. You're just trying to make him look bad. This went on and on into the late evening, and Oliver was backing up his mom, attempting to gaslight me into believing that I was the crazy one. What happened next shocked both of me and Oliver. Oliver, my baby, you can no longer stay here with her. You have to move into something better since she doesn't know how to appreciate her man. Let's teach her a lesson. I've been looking at places to rent on Zillow, and we have to go to this marvelous place on Palm Island. I think a couple of months away from her will teach her a valuable lesson. I could see the panic set in on Oliver's face. Palm Island? That was an expensive neighborhood. There was no way that he'd be able to afford that. Oh, Mom, I don't think we need to be that rash. There's no need to teach her a lesson. I think she's already learned it. I will stay here and take care of her. Without me, she'd be nothing after all. Right, Yasmin? I could see that he was looking for me to confirm his false narrative. He wanted me to play along, receive a final earful from his mother, and have our lives proceed as usual, with Beatrice under the impression that I do nothing while he brings in the big bucks. But I wasn't going to have that. Not this time. Oliver, I don't think I've learned my lesson. I'm ungrateful and I need to be put in my place, right? Fine, no problem. You and your mom can rent a place on Palm Island, and I'll be here, wallowing. Ugh, the cheek! You'll be sorry, Yasmin. Just wait. You won't enjoy the lovely house with us. You'll be stuck here thinking about what you've done. All of the blood from Oliver's face drained. He looked like he'd seen a ghost, but I know the real reason why he looked like that. He was doing mental gymnastics, trying to calculate how much he had left in his savings. I laughed internally, just waiting to see how this would all go down. Beatrice made it a show to call Harold, who was a famous landlord that she knew, requesting if he could especially allow her and her son to move into one of the listings she saw. She put the phone on loudspeaker so that she could flaunt and gloat. Harold, darling, remember that house I saw on Zillow? Is it possible if you could bring over the paperwork, as I would like to move in? Wow, that quick. We talked about this just days ago. That property is quite an expensive doll. Are you sure? I'll be moving in with my son. He's loaded. He's going to take care of everything, won't you, sweetie? Oliver sent over a curt and shy nod. Well, that won't be a problem then. Just send over the necessary documents and we'll begin the move-in process ASAP. After cutting the call, Beatrice insisted that Oliver shan't stay another night in this wretched and ungrateful household. Beatrice wanted to stay with Oliver in some luxury hotel until they were able to move into their house, which costs 5 figures to rent per month. Oliver did his best to stay, knowing that his funds were going to be depleted before his very eyes, but still refusing to just say the truth. It's a shame how someone can be so narcissistic that they wouldn't be able to admit a simple thing to avoid drama and chaos. Nevertheless, I didn't stop them. I even went as far as to pack up his belongings and send them off to wherever they wanted to go. Oliver was sending me text messages throughout the night, begging and pleading with me to say I was sorry so that he could feign feeling bad for me and subsequently come home to take care of me. But I wasn't having any of that. I told him that his pride would be the reason for his demise and that he should just come clean before he was too late. But my husband has a hard head and simply would not listen to reason. Some weeks of him spending time in a ridiculously expensive luxury resort with his mother, siphoning his funds, went by. At this point, his begging became incessant, and he showed me that his funds were depleting steadily due to his mother's spending habits. I'd often ignore his requests at this point, letting him suffer the same way that I had when I had to cover for his lying and broke behind. Beatrice called me to gloat about the rental property finally being finalized. I continued to congratulate her and wish her all the best, and she was irritated that I wasn't perturbed by the situation. But she'd find out soon enough. Not only did Oliver have to pay the deposit, brokerage, and rental fee for the first month's rent, but he also had to buy lavish furniture to complement the new home. Understandably, he was struggling, but for some reason, he still refused to come clean. In another attempt to try and make me feel bad, Beatrice invited me over to the luxurious house to see just exactly what I was missing. I came and I was elated. The reaction she didn't want to see, as I knew deep down that Oliver was crying every night, attempting desperately to get a job to compensate for what he was spending. Beatrice simply couldn't understand why I wasn't being apologetic for everything, because she still believed that her son was in the right. But all of that would come crashing down during month 2. It had been a total of 4 months since I had heard from Beatrice and Oliver. It was as if they just disappeared off the face of the earth. I was doing my grocery shopping when I bumped into somebody who looked somewhat familiar. "Oh, pardon me." "Oh, it's no bother." "Wait, I think I know you. You're that famous landlord, right?" "In the flesh. A pleasure to meet you. You too look somewhat familiar. Would you by any chance know anyone who is named Beatrice?" "Why, yes, I do. How did you know?" "You look a lot like her son's wife. Her name is Yasmin, I believe." "Yes, that's me. How in the world did you know?" "If I recall, Beatrice and her son Oliver rented some property from me several months ago." "Oh, yes, I'm well aware, but I haven't heard from them ever since they made the actual move." "How are they?" "You haven't heard from them? How strange. Well, you must know what happened at least." "Nope, haven't heard anything." It turns out, folks, that Oliver has moved back in with his mother. They are living in a cramped and unfavorable apartment complex because that's all he can afford at the moment. Harold went on to tell me that the bank statements that Oliver had sent to him were falsified and that if his true bank statements were used, he would have been rejected on the spot. Harold told me everything. He told me how Oliver duped both him and Beatrice and how they were so shocked when they found out the truth. Rightfully, his mother berated him. She was so loud and destructive that neighbors were making complaints, and Harold couldn't have their bad reputation tainting the elegance of that neighborhood. When it came time for the second month's rent to be paid, I noticed that Oliver was being very nice to me, before telling me that he'd be late on the payment. This shocked me because Beatrice made it seem like he was loaded, and so paying rent of $35,000 per month wouldn't be an issue. But we were all hoodwinked. The funny thing in all this, I knew the entire time. You knew? Why didn't you try and stop him? I did. God knows I did. But he was too stubborn to admit that he didn't have any money. Men and their pride. Well, he has now met his demise, after being found out it wasn't a good look. His mother tore up the whole house in distress, so he was unable to return any of the furniture he bought. He had to resell it at a significantly cheaper price, which was a big loss to him. Because his mother attempted to ruin the house, I had to keep his deposit. And on top of that, since he falsified his bank statements, he was arrested. I gasped, completely shocked to be hearing all of this for the first time. Yep, it was truly a series of unfortunate events that led to this crazy situation. Beatrice pleaded that I drop the charges, but the damages had already been done. Your husband spent 2 months in jail waiting to post bail. His mother had sold her house to pay his bail, and with the remaining amount of money that they could scrounge up, they opted to live together in some dingy apartment complex on the other side of town. Do you mean to tell me that you haven't heard from any of them? Nope, not one squeak. I'm guessing they're all just extremely embarrassed about the situation. But honestly, good riddance. They made my life a living hell. Please, could you tell me where they're staying so that I can pay a visit sometime and deliver some divorce papers? Harold jotted down the address of where they were staying, and we said our adios. I left the grocery store making a new friend and apparently gaining 2 enemies. Hey, I'm Ava, and I've never gotten along with my mother-in-law. From the moment I met her, she's been rude and condescending. I could tell that she did not approve of me as her son's wife. Things started getting worse when my husband encouraged me to buy my first home. He has paid for one part of the house, and over time, my mother-in-law started to point out every little flaw with my home and criticize my choices. She even bought us ugly decorations that didn't match my style. She knew how badly I wanted a pretty home, and she ruined it. The worst incident was when my mother-in-law tried to turn my husband against me. She would call him and tell him lies about things I supposedly said or did, trying to make him doubt our relationship. I just trusted the process of the world, and I left everything to the powers of the world until I had to step down and take a stand for myself and my dignity. I invited my mother-in-law for dinner. I wanted to patch things up between us, and I have been trying my hardest to be civil with her. I spent hours cooking and preparing the meal, but she barely touched her food. Mary, Ansel and I are so glad to have you over for dinner. Ansel told me to make your favorite dish. Unfortunately, it looks like my most hated dish. This is not food. I would not feed this to an animal. Do you call this cooking? Do you even know how bread is made? You! What is this? I try here alone, looking to patch things up with you and bridge the gap, but you never seem to meet me in the middle. You're just mean. Well, it's still pretty unedible. How does Ansel eat this? You should take some cooking classes or something. Mary, I put a lot of time and effort into making this meal. Please try to enjoy it. Fine. I'll try a little more. You need to step up your game to impress me. You don't impress me enough by being Ansel's wife. I'm not trying to impress you, Mary. I just wanted to make a nice dinner for us to enjoy together. Who knew I'd be having dinner with Godzilla? I heard from Ansel that you burned the roast last week. I did burn the roast, but learned from my mistake, and I'm getting better. Can we please just focus on the present and enjoy this meal? Can you stop being grumpy for once? My mother-in-law would pick at food and make aggressive comments throughout the meal. I felt uncomfortable in my own home. Ansel just said it was between the ladies to figure out, and never stood up for me. Whenever Mary had something to say, Ansel would listen with utmost interest. But when I faced an issue, Ansel would brush it off and ask to let it go and let his mom be. I remember going to my aunt's birthday party. She had turned the basement into a place to paint and drink wine with snacks. It was supposed to be fun, but things got uncomfortable when my personal Godzilla showed up. Hey, Auntie, happy birthday. This is such a cool setup. I love the idea of painting and sipping on wine. Oh, you're so kind to me. I'm glad you like it. It's a nice way to unwind and just have fun. Well, I do want to express my surprise. I did not expect to see my mother-in-law here. Oh, Mary, she and I are great friends. I love her accessories. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to tell you I invited her. I know you and her have had some issues, but I wanted to try and smooth things over. Plus, she's family. You know she makes me uncomfortable. She's always so rude to me and just very passive-aggressive. I know, and I'm sorry. Don't stay too close to me. Try to have a good time tonight and not let her get to you. My mother-in-law wore a super revealing shirt. She also got paint on her shirt and stomach while getting drunk, so my aunt and mom tried to help her clean it up in the bathroom. I went to help them out because I didn't want to leave my mom alone with my mother-in-law. You know, Jesse has been such a great boyfriend to me. He treats me like a queen and is always so thoughtful. Jesse? Your Jesse? Ava told us that he was absolutely horrible in school to her and Ansel. Oh no, he's changed a lot since then. He's got a great job now and is always taking me out to nice restaurants and buying me gifts. What does Ansel think of all this? I thought he and Jesse had some kind of beef in the past. Oh, he doesn't know. He is just too stubborn to let the past go. I'm happy and that is all that matters right now. I'll tell him when the time is right. My husband's old bully, Jesse, was dating my mother-in-law. My husband hated Jesse, and I knew he would feel bad about it if he found out. I talked to my mother-in-law about it and she got furious. She always made sure that my husband and I didn't get along. Ansel would never say a word to his mother, which made me angry. I needed somebody to stand up for me, and Ansel was far from that. So I decided to talk to her myself. You're always trying to create tension between Ansel and me. What are you talking about? I've never done anything like that. Really? Remember when you came over for dinner and barely touched your food while making passive-aggressive comments? Oh, that. I was just feeling a little under the weather. What about when you wore that revealing shirt at my aunt's party and got drunk? You got paint all over yourself and my mom and aunt had to help you clean up. That was just a harmless mistake. I didn't mean anything by it. And then there's Jesse, Ansel's old bully who's now dating you. I know Ansel hates him, and yet you're still with him. I'm giving you one day to tell Ansel this yourself, or I will do the honors. Jesse is a wonderful man, and Ansel needs to learn to forgive and forget. I don't think you understand how your actions affect us. It's about our marriage. I want us to have a good relationship, but it's hard when you're always causing problems. Later that night, I received a phone call that changed me. Living with Ansel was like living with a lazy, unproductive stranger. He often spent his entire day lounging on the couch, watching TV and surfing the internet. Even when I asked him to help with household chores or errands, he would always come up with an excuse or simply ignore me. He is never emotionally present or supportive. He would dismiss my feelings and concerns or merely nod without listening. It felt like I was living with a stranger who had no interest in building a life together. Ansel, can you please help me with the dishes? They're piling up in the sink. I'm kind of in the middle of something right now. Can't you do them later? I have a deadline for work and I won't be able to get to them until late tonight. Can you just take a few minutes to help me out? I just don't see why I must do everything you ask. I have things to do too, you know. Like what exactly? You've been sitting on the couch all day. I've been job hunting, okay? It's not easy finding something that fits my qualifications. I understand, but I need you to help around the house too. And speaking of which, why are you still taking rent from me for using the basement as my office? I paid for this entire house. Well, you know, I do need to contribute to the household expenses somehow, and the basement is technically mine since I paid for it. Are you kidding me? I own this entire house. I'm already contributing by paying for all the groceries and bills. You do nothing but just ignore me and let your nasty mother run her mouth all over the place. You are lazy, a snob, and I can't deal with you anymore." Ansel would always take advantage of my hard work. I worked 12 hours daily to earn money and contribute to our household. I had the privilege of working from home as my firm allows senior associates to stay in the comfort of their homes. Although I had bought the entire house, I used the basement to work and Ansel kept renting from me. I was fed up with it all. "I hate the way things are going. You don't seem to be putting in any effort to help me around the house or with anything else. And on top of that, your mother keeps trying to control my life. I can't take it anymore." "What do you want me to do, Ava? I can't just cut my mother out of my life. She raised me." "I'm not asking you to cut her out, but you need to stand up for me and at least start contributing more around the house. If things don't change, I'm seriously considering divorce." Ansel stayed quiet during the argument, and I later found him complaining to his mother. Each time he complained to his mother, Mary would get back and say something rude to me just to get at me. Seeing him there angered me. It had started to become extremely rude and difficult to deal with. I hated every bit of my day and just wanted an escape. To my surprise, my mother-in-law walked into my house that night and threw the divorce papers at my face. She flung it across the room, treating me like a subhuman creature. "Look, I know you're not happy with me right now, but you need to understand that I can't let you continue to hurt my husband and our relationship. It's not fair to him or me." "Oh, spare me the lecture. You think you're so perfect, but you have no idea what it takes to make a marriage work. You better keep these papers ready with your signature tomorrow. I don't want to hear a squeak from a good-for-nothing like you. You are never going to be good enough for my Ansel. I knew my baby was marrying a witch. Get out of our lives by tomorrow morning. I can't bear the sight of you. Take these papers and be out of his life. You are good for nothing." "Oh, that reminds me. You were about to rent out your house and move in with us for the summer. Well, let's see how that goes. Oh, maybe poor Mary doesn't know that there are consequences to your actions. Ansel has no money. Everything you have, the gifts, the trips, it's all because of my hard work and money. So don't act like you're some kind of queen who can do whatever she wants. Who do you think paid for that stupid diamond ring? Who do you think pays for your car?" "No, it can't be. You're just spouting lies. What do you mean Ansel has no money?" "I mean exactly what I said. He's been living off my income and the rent he gets from me for far too long. And it's not fair to me either. He's a lazy prick who does nothing but just stinks up the room all day." "Well, that's just ridiculous. Ansel is a man. He's my boy. He would never let you support him like that." "Look, I have been kind enough for a long time, and you've taken advantage of that. Ansel takes advantage of my money, and so do you. You both are just leeches who suck the life out of somebody. Someday, when you aren't all old and wrinkly, maybe never, I urge you to see things from my perspective." I looked through the divorce papers and knew this was my key to freedom. I heard something I never thought I would hear in a million years. "Ava, I'm so sorry. Please don't look through the papers. I did not know this. Please hear me out. I know I've been difficult to deal with, and I'm sorry for how I've treated you." "Sorry? Huh, that's rich coming from you." "I know. Please put it down. I haven't been the best, but I'm willing to change. You never told me about the funds." "You're just a bully. No wonder you and Jessie get along so well. Ansel is just as much at fault here. He's a lazy couch potato, and he takes advantage of me, and you enabled his behavior." "Please don't sign those papers. I was the one who encouraged him to do all this. Please, I'm begging you, don't leave him. He's my son, and I love him. We can work things out. And the money, we can definitely look into that too. I can live with you and you can continue paying us rent." "Pay you rent in my house?" I can't stay in this toxic environment anymore. You guys are terrible, and I can't even look at your nasty face right now. It was hard to say, but I knew it was the truth. Ansel emerged from the couch and begged me to stay, but I knew I couldn't continue living like this. I also knew that my mother-in-law would try to talk me out of it, but I wasn't going to back down. As I picked up the papers and walked away from my mother-in-law, my heart was heavy with the weight of my decision. I knew that what I was about to do would change my life forever. I needed so much from Ansel that he could never give me. I wanted to raise a family and be a closely knit family. But his mother has been a nasty old lady and I can't stand her. I called my mom and my aunt because they were the closest to me. I needed to get it off my chest. Who else would understand me better? I don't know what to do anymore. Ansel just sits around all day doing nothing. He doesn't help with the chores or contribute to the household in any way. I pay for rent in my own house so that he can have an allowance, and Mary is a nightmare. Have you talked to him about it? Yes, but he gets defensive and says he's trying his best. But I can see he's not putting in any effort. That's not fair to you, Ava. You work hard to earn your own money and he should be contributing too. Exactly. It's frustrating to see him act this way, especially since his mother so easily manipulates him. I want to talk to him and see how it goes. I reached home and received several voicemails from Mary begging me to stay. Do you even know about this? Is it something you want to fight about again? God, you're annoying. Tell me. Wow, the whole family is crazy, huh? Anyway, your mother is dating Jesse. Plus, thanks for never telling me that you have wanted a divorce for the longest time. She's dating Jesse? She knows how horrible he was to me. How can she do this to me? And Ava, with your nagging, I don't want to be with somebody like you. My mother was right. You are not good enough for me. I don't want to sign the papers, but you are unbearable. I don't know why I bothered even to beg you to stay. I can do just fine without you. I'm a man. I can support myself. I am not good enough for you? Have you taken a look at yourself? You haven't showered in 5 days because not a single job notification has come in. You've been on unemployment forever. It's pathetic to see you like this. Ansel finally looked at me. What? You think that about me? Are you leaving me? We just wanted to threaten you. If I told you how you made me feel, you would reconsider. The papers were a way to show you that you were being difficult and terrible to me, and we were trying to teach you a lesson. Wow, I can't even begin to start with you guys. You guys are insane, and I can't believe this is happening. I have signed the papers and have also called my attorney. You will hear from him soon. I want you out of this house by 5 p.m. today, and here's the $20,000 you paid for that stupid basement. I threw the money at Ansel's face, and Mary was just at the door staring at me in shock. I won't sign the papers. Okay, then you leave me with no choice but to report your mother for abuse and theft to the authorities. You both have been stealing from me and asking me to pay rent in my own house. What about us? What about our life? Good luck with it. Hope you don't end up starving under the bridge. Do not ever contact me again. I want you out by tonight. As I walked away, I heard Ansel saying that none of this was fair to him and that I was just being mean. Mary kept begging me to stay and falling at my feet, but I knew leaving them behind was the most important thing I could do for myself. Ansel was a person I had put on a pedestal. I needed to realize that he was human, and a terrible one at that. Leaving him and kicking them out of my house would be the most peaceful decision I had taken for myself. This was not an easy decision. I still ponder over it and feel terrible for the same. I had spent far too long being taken advantage of and manipulated, and I was ready to move on and start a new chapter. After they left, I began to focus on myself and my happiness. I bought a new home in a different city and started to build a life that was entirely my own. I began to work on my firm with a few colleagues from my workplace, and the process of building a business from scratch was challenging but exciting. Everything was growing for me, and I wanted to expand further. Yay, I'm impressed by what you've accomplished so far with the firm. You've been working tirelessly and it's really paying off. Thank you so much, Ethan. It's been a lot of hard work, but it's all worth it. I'm so excited about what the future holds for us. Speaking of the future, have you thought about expanding the firm? Maybe bringing on more employees or opening up another location? Actually, I have. I've been doing some research and it's a possibility. I'm still in the planning stages, but I'm considering it. I have also adopted a son who brings joy and light to my life every day. He's my bottle of sunshine and I love him so much. He and I love spending time basking in the sun at the park. As for Ansel and Mary, I had completely cut them out of my life. Mary would occasionally call and ask for money. You took everything from us. We've been reduced to nothing. Ansel and I are struggling to make ends meet. We're living in a motel and running out of money. Send us money. You owe us enough to help us out. I owe you nothing, and I'm sorry to hear that. I will not be able to help you financially. You and Ansel need to take responsibility for your own lives. This lazy man has been sitting around and doing nothing. I have been working tirelessly to do odd jobs here and there. No one's hiring him. Don't rely on me to support you. I told you who your son was, and you said that he was too good for me. You and Ansel need to work together to find a solution. I understand and appreciate your apologies, but I can't ever forget the way you treated me. You guys are horrible. You don't know how I'm doing. I have hit rock bottom. Jesse refuses to talk to me. I have nothing in my life. Let me tell you what happened. Please just listen to me. I did not want to listen to her talk about Jesse, but I didn't want my son to see me angry and swear at my mother-in-law. I let her speak, and she told me about a conversation she had with her boyfriend. I refused to let her manipulate me any longer. Jesse, what's going on? You've been acting distant lately. I can't be your bank. I thought you were mine. I can't keep pretending that everything is okay between us and keep giving you all the money. What are you talking about? I thought we were happy together. You're old, and I was with you for your money, and I can't do this anymore. I found out that marrying you would never get me the fortune Ava's father left her, because you and the pig Ansel are so pathetic. What? How could you say that? I thought you loved me. I just needed money until I could score a hot chick who's as old as me. Your health keeps declining and I can't keep up with the medical bills. You are old and expensive to handle. Well, Mary, that's tough, but we are not your enablers. Get a life and do not ever contact me again. It sucks to know you guys are in the worst era of your life and nobody is ready to help you. I hope Ansel gets that job as a janitor. I blocked her after this conversation and never spoke to her again. I recently found out that my ex-husband finally got a job as a janitor at a school and has been in the worst financial crunch ever. Living paycheck to paycheck is something I can understand, but I have no sympathy. He would take advantage of me and my money, and I was so glad this phase was behind me. Mary and Ansel live in a shelter now and will slowly be kicked out onto the streets. Ansel has already lost the space in the shelter and lives under the bridge close to it. Mary has been able to enable her benefits by being an elderly woman to be able to live in the shelter. As for me, I bought a new home and have a different address now. I did not want to live in that house. I have also signed on new clients, and my son and I love swimming. So I bought a home with a pool and a yard to play with my sunshine. Hello there. My name's Heather. I'm 23, and 2 years ago I married the love of my life. Everything seemed to be going so well. Even though my husband is French, we didn't experience many issues other than the obvious language barrier. And as a true testament to our love, I decided to start learning French so that I could better communicate with him and his family. That's how much I loved him. I was doing this secretly. Frederic and Avril, my husband and mother-in-law respectively, had no idea that I was learning French. Not only was I learning French, but my diligence and discipline allowed me to be relatively fluent. I knew now that if I was dropped in the middle of France, I would be able to survive at least. You might be thinking, well, if you're so good at French, why doesn't your husband know? And you'd be right in asking that. Well, the reason is that I was a bit shy, if I'm being honest. It can be nerve-wracking approaching someone and trying to speak their native tongue, especially if you're constantly with them. But I decided that enough was enough. I had to start speaking French with both my husband and my mother-in-law. After all, the whole purpose of my doing this was to facilitate better communication, right? Well, it's a good thing that I didn't start speaking French so soon with them, because I found out some very interesting information one day that led to a series of unfortunate events. Hello, Mama. How are you, my son? Thank you for inviting me over this lovely Sunday afternoon. It was our pleasure, Mom. Hello, Mama. Hello, my daughter. How are you? Thank you so much for including me. Oh, hush, you know you're always wanted and welcome here. I brought some croissant and, how do you Americans say, bagels? Yes, bagels and croissant for our afternoon tea. Oh, how lovely. Thank you so much. Come and sit, Mama. The food will be ready soon. Did she prepare the food? No, I did most of the prepping. Don't worry. Oh, thank God. Hearing this, I was wondering what she meant by that, but I was obviously too shy to speak up about it. How strange and peculiar. Avril always seemed to like my cooking. Why was she saying those things? At the time, I chalked it up to her just wanting to eat food prepared by her son that day. Maybe she wanted to taste food that she could reminisce on. Eventually, I heard her say, I hate her cooking. Why did you invite me for this thing instead of taking me to a cafe so we can avoid her? Mom, we agreed to speak in English so that Heather doesn't feel left out, remember? Oh, forgive me, my sweet daughter. I was just saying that the food looks so good. I was surprised to learn that it was my son who made the food. Oh, I wish it was you who made it. I love your cooking. At this point, I was getting confused. How could she say those awful things in French and then lie to my face in English? I thought that I must have been mistranslating, but I had a plan to reaffirm what I was thinking. Oh, please don't worry. You should never feel ashamed to speak your native tongue. Please go right ahead. I'll be fine. I wanted to catch what she was saying by recording her on the Google Translate app, just to make sure that I knew what she was saying, because at this point, I was thinking that I was wrongly translating what she was saying. We all sat at the table getting ready to eat, and what would come next shook me to the core. I want us to discuss about our plan. The time is approaching. It's literally tomorrow, Frederic. You have to be serious. The app, in addition to my French knowledge, confirmed that there was some plan going on. But what? Mama, not now. I said I would handle it. What are you going to tell her? Heather, darling, please pass me the sugar. She doesn't know anything about the plan. I was just going to tell her that I would be out of town. Out of town? What for? What was going on? I was so confused. Since I was constantly looking down at my phone to see what the app was translating, I think they assumed that I wasn't paying attention, and they took this as a way for them to be less discreet with their true feelings, which was good for me as I was learning everybody's true colors. She's not too smart. Look at her, glued to her phone. We can talk about this now. Okay, Mama, fine. What do you want to discuss? The plane is leaving at 3 p.m. Are you sure you'll be able to escape her then? Plane? Escape me? What for? I was so confused. But I continued to remain strong and not expose that I could hear what they were saying so that I could plan my next course of action accordingly. Yes, Mama, I know. I will do the needful. I know how important this is. It is extremely important. If your great-uncle doesn't see us tomorrow, he will give the house to someone else, like your cousin or your aunt. We can't have that. No one needs to know about this house. Oh, Mama, you're so funny. Don't worry, I just said that in English so she doesn't suspect what we're talking about. Who? Heather? Yes. Oh, sorry, my love. I was just asking who made this delicious tea. It's splendid. Oh, that would be your talented son, I'm afraid. I'm not as good as he is when it comes to these things. Oh, darling, your food is amazing. Amazingly terrible. Mom, she will catch you. She can't catch me. She's too stupid to understand us. I don't know, Mom. She obviously understands some basics, I think. Let's see. Heather, how much French do you know? At this moment, I knew I had to lie and said I didn't know anything, just so that they would continue exposing themselves and I could continue to see their true colors. How I managed to keep my composure while being insulted still baffles me to this day. I guess my body knew that it was much more important to handle this situation instead of getting emotional at that present moment. I said, "Oh, I'm still very bad at French. I obviously know the typical things like bonjour and comment tu appelles, but that's it." "Oh, that simply won't do, darling. You should learn some more French." "Yes, ma'am, I will." "Well, it's a good thing for Frederick and me, as we can be gossiping about you. I'm just, how do you say, kidding. With you, mon chéri, we would never do that to you." "Aren't we doing it right now?" "Yes, which is what makes this extra funny." They laughed. Google Translate and I continued to do our jobs. And sure enough, as I was recording the conversation, I was also checking out other apps, websites, and forums to see if what was being said by them was indeed correct. I got about 90% confirmation from these different resources to reaffirm what I had originally thought. So now that I understood that they clearly didn't like me, since they were blatantly making fun of me, I had to continue to gather as much information as possible. As if their insults weren't cutting away at me slowly, the next thing I heard shattered my resolve. As I was saying, this house is extremely important. No one can know about this house, okay? We need to be the only ones knowing because then we can make a lot of money. We can't lose this opportunity. I'm so glad that we're doing this. And it's a good thing we didn't tell my wife about this because I don't want to share the spoils. Me neither. Everything needs to go smoothly. Your great-uncle Pierre said that whoever contacts him first about this issue will inherit the mansion. So we need to go there physically before anyone else, and we can begin working on remodeling and improving the house. I can't wait to have a house in California. This is where I will be going to escape my wife and my life here in Florida. Sometimes I can't stand her. You know, you're still young, way too young to be married to someone like her anyways. Come and live with me in California. You can enjoy yourself and your youth with women and booze. You can have a good time, and then when you're ready to settle down, you can do so. Let's leave this place. Honestly, Mama, I think you're right. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was feeling myself tear up. Excuse me. Mon coeur, what's wrong? Is everything okay? Yes, I just need to get something from the kitchen. I couldn't hear any more than they said. At least that moment. I needed to collect myself to not make a scene. But how could they say those awful things with me right there in the room with them? Did they have no shame? I was so upset. I began pacing up and down the kitchen. And then suddenly I thought of something when I saw my mother-in-law's purse sitting on the kitchen counter. I decided to look inside to take her phone. Luckily, it was unlocked. I opened her WhatsApp and decided to send Uncle Pierre's number to my number. I then quickly deleted the text from her phone so that it looked like nothing happened. Honestly, it was like I was acting on instinct. I didn't even know why I did, but I'm glad I did it because I was now conjuring a plan to hurt these people the same way they did to me. I returned to the dining room where the festivities were being held, and sure enough, they still seemed to be talking about this situation. So, tomorrow we leave for the vacation. I think it's well deserved, actually, because of all the hard work we've been doing. I second that. We deserve this break. Is everything okay? Yes, honey, we were just talking about the weather and how it's a perfect day to go relax somewhere. Would you like us to do that? Maybe not today, Freddie. Oh, okay. When would you like to go then? Maybe tomorrow. Both Avril and Frederick froze slightly in their seats, a movement I was actively looking out for to see their reaction. Had I not known their plans, I probably wouldn't have noticed it. I don't think tomorrow would be possible. I asked Freddie to help me with some things around the house. Oh, what things? Why is she asking so many questions? Just to move things around. I can help also if you like. That won't be necessary, mon chéri. See how nosy she is being? I don't like it one bit. You see why you have to leave this place? Don't worry, Mama. I've got this handled. I still managed to maintain a smile despite knowing what they were saying. I relied on the delayed gratification that was about to come to satiate my desire for revenge. I was still recording the conversations they were having, right until the very end, just so that I could review it and really squeeze out as many details as possible. As I mentioned before, my French was getting really good, but I still wanted to make sure that I got the right information. That night, I snuck away from the bedroom to go to the office to do some further investigating. I replayed the audio, and sure enough, my doubts about my accuracy were dispelled. What I could glean from this whole ordeal is that there is a vacation tomorrow to go and claim a house from Great Uncle Pierre, and that these people apparently hate my guts, and they're even planning on leaving me. A bonus piece of information I got was when I went to the kitchen to pace, I had left my phone, which was still recording, in the room with my husband and mother-in-law, and I managed to pick up some more useful information. The conversation consisted of Avril asking Frederick about his computer password, as she wanted to modify some aspects of the flight they were going to be on. I managed to get a password and flight details. I must have hit the jackpot. I logged into Fred's computer, and sure enough, there were flight details on the website he booked the tickets. Feeling very sneaky and devious, I may or may not have changed the details of the flight, such as pushing their flight to the day after tomorrow. This was just phase 1 of my plans. There was a lot more to come after this. Since I had sent myself Great Uncle Pierre's number, I was ready to do what I needed to do. Hello? Hello, Uncle Pierre, it's Heather. Oh, hello, darling. How are you doing? Is everything okay? Well, no, not really. I went into great detail explaining the events that had transpired that day. I even sent him the audio recording of what happened as proof, because without it, I doubt he would have believed me. We cut the call so that he could listen to the voice recordings, and we reconvened soon after he had finished listening to everything. Wow, I don't even know what to say. How could Avril do this, and Frederick? They were all such sweet and innocent people when they were younger. How could they do this to you, to me? I know, it's a lot to take in. It was shocking to me too. You have indeed improved your French. Well done. Thanks, Pierre. But now that we know this, what do we do? Well, obviously, they're not going to get the house. That's a fact. After hearing all of this, there is no way that I would bestow such a lavish and honorable gift to people who are planning on decimating the place with their evilness and foolishness. Okay, I get you. It's your house, and you have every right to do what you please with it. Yes, surely I do. From now onwards, I will be ignoring their calls. Let's see how they'd feel about that. Thanks once again for bringing this to my attention. You are a good and kind-hearted person, Heather. Please don't let the ugliness of this world change that. Thank you for your time and willingness to hear me out. Hearing what you heard today couldn't have been easy. I applaud you for your stoicism and strength. Please take care of yourself, Uncle Pierre. You too, love. Good night. And with that, I knew that I secured both Avril and Frederique's demise, and now that the dominoes were all set in place, I just had to wait for the right moment to tip the first one and watch the rest fall into place. When I got back to the bedroom, Frederique was still fast asleep. It pained me to know that my husband, who I loved very dearly, would treat me this way. I didn't know he felt all those feelings, and perhaps if we talked about these things, we could have found a compromise solution. But alas, he decided to go through the evil route. I got his phone and removed his alarm. Without it, he would surely sleep forever, and that's precisely what he did. I packed my belongings and decided to go to a hotel for the night. I could no longer stay in the house with someone like that. The next day, absolute chaos ensued. I am sure that Fred woke up to 100 missed calls from his mother, and he must have frantically been moving up and down trying to pack, because he stupidly hadn't packed the day before, and get to the airport. I suspect all of this because I received a call from him at 2 p.m. Where the hell are you? Why didn't my alarm go off? And why aren't you here? Oh, I decided to take a little vacation day for myself. Oh, that's nice. A little heads up would have been appreciated, though. Yeah, likewise, Freddie. What? What do you mean? Anyways, that doesn't matter. I'm running late for my flight. My meeting with Mom. Why are you in such a hurry? I'm sure she wouldn't mind you being a little bit late. You don't understand. Anyways, it's fine. I won't be home tonight and tomorrow night. I've got a lot I need to do. See you later. Before I could even respond, he hung up the phone. I'm pretty sure he was so overwhelmed that he didn't even check the proper details of his ticket, which I had changed to the next day. Through the Find My iPhone app, I saw that he made his way to the airport. Imagine waking up, rushing out of the house with only minutes to spare to make it to your flight, just to find out that it had been cancelled. I'm sure he was moving like a madman up and down that airport. Suddenly, I received a call from Avril. Hell, you! What have you done? What do you mean, Avril? Drop the act. I know that you tampered with our flight. If by tampered you mean change the date, then yes, that's exactly what I did. Why would you do that? I was trying to help you guys out. Didn't you say that you wanted Freddie's help with moving some stuff around? I noticed that you had the flight foolishly booked for today, the day that Fred was meant to help you, so I decided to change some things. You're welcome. Frederique, come and talk to your wife before I reach through the phone and kill her. Listen here, Heather. I don't know what you've done, but whatever it is, I want you to stop it right now. Uncle Pierre still isn't answering his phone. Try again. He isn't answering his phone because he doesn't want to speak with you two. You can understand us? Every last word. But how? I've been practicing. I told you, Mama, I told you she might be able to hear us. So, that means yesterday you heard everything? Yep. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to divorce your good-for-nothing son and leave you two to your own devices. Have a blessed day. Oh, and by the way, the next time you want to talk about someone with them being right there in the room, make sure they don't understand what you're saying. Have a nice life. I hung up before I could even let them speak. I was done with their antics. Later on in the day, I got a call from Uncle Pierre. Hello, dear. How are you? I'm a bit distraught. I just had an ugly fight with Fred and Avril, and now I'm getting a divorce from him. I'm so sorry that this is the way that things turned out, Heather. It's part of life, I guess. How are things on your end? Well, I finally picked up their cause and I gave them a piece of my mind, and they are not happy. What did you say to them? I told Fred that he's an idiot for treating you the way he did, and told Avril that she's evil for roping her son into her schemes. And I also told them that I've given you the house. You what? Yes, dear. The mansion is yours. Even if you get a divorce from Freddie, it's all yours, and you can share it with whomever you please. I simply can't, Pierre. It's too much. I wanted this house to go to someone kind and compassionate, but also tough and strong when you need to be. And that's exactly who you are. A house is the least I could do after all the stress and turmoil those two idiots put you through. The house is yours. Take it. And with that, folks, not only did I manage to distance myself from two toxic people who didn't have my best interests at heart, but I also got a multi-million-dollar mansion in the process. Seeing me get the house that they always wanted made Avril and Frederic foam at the mouth. I received constant death threats from them daily, but all I would do is respond with a picture of different parts of the house, all as reminders that this was all mine and not theirs. Revenge never felt so luxurious. Don't you dare talk back, you lazy piece of shit. You can't even cook properly. You are of no use to me. Next time you serve a blistered food to me, you'll meet your fate of divorce. You need to be taught a lesson. Mind you, if you repeat this carelessness, that will be the end of your happy married life. How dare you talk back to me? The next time you open your mouth, I'll shove in divorce papers on your face. My husband threatened me with a divorce after every small argument, so I decided to give him what he deserved. Hello, my name is Maria. I'm a 45-year-old housewife and mother of two beautiful children. This is my story of revenge on my husband Kevin, with whom I've been married for the last 20 years. We both were fun-loving, happy individuals in our early married days. Soon after my first kid, Glenn, was born. I left my job and became a full-time stay-at-home mom. After 2 years, I was blessed with a second child, Sam. They both have grown up now and are studying in college. I've dedicated all these years of my life to my husband and kids, managing the house and taking care of every need and want of the kids and my husband. Sometimes I feel that I have lost my identity. Over these years, running a race to become a perfect housewife to my husband and a perfect mom to my kids. Things were different from what it is now. Neither was I this timid and unambitious woman, and neither was Kevin this rude and a cruel man. A few years of our marriage were good when the kids were small and we were young. I failed to spot the time when exactly things started going south. I guess it was a gradual one. Kevin is a businessman and he's mostly busy with his work. I didn't complain about this because he was paying for the lifestyle for me and my kids. My kids went to the best school. They got the best education. We got the best food on our tables. And we went to the best places in the world for vacation. So if I had to give up on Kevin's time in exchange for all of these, I guess it was a fair deal. Kevin often missed important events of the kids, their parent-teacher meetings, their school's annual day, and sometimes even their birthdays. I console the kids, giving the same reason I gave to myself. Dad is busy with his work, darling. But don't worry, Mom is here as always. Dad is always busy. He doesn't have time for us. He works very hard to give us all the comfort. Let's support him, okay? Okay, Mom, you always take his side. Kevin's absence in most of the family events was concerning, although I tried my best to fill the gap so that the kids don't get affected. On the other hand, Kevin's attitude got colder with me. He left no opportunity to ridicule and belittle me. I bit my tongue and ignored this for most of the time until the conversation was between us. Things took an ugly turn when Kevin started criticizing me in front of the kids. It was a usual day when I was helping Kevin pack his business trip, and suddenly he started screaming at me. What the hell, Maria? Why is this suit not ironed properly? Oh, I think it got wrinkled while keeping it inside the closet. I'll iron it now. You spend the entire day sitting idle at home. Can't you take care of these things? This is ridiculous. I'm getting annoyed by your carelessness now. Sam was lying on the couch and he heard all of this. He couldn't bear Kevin's harsh words and he said, "Dad, Mom works very hard for the whole day. How could you yell at her like this?" Kevin was aghast at Sam's words. After a few moments of shock, he snapped at Sam. "Don't interfere in your parents' matters. Get up and go to your room." Sam gave an angry look at Kevin. To kill the tension in the air, I jumped in. "Sam, go and study in your room. I'll get you the breakfast in some time." Sam rolled his eyes and left. It was embarrassing for me when Kevin yelled in front of my son. I mean, the kids learn what they see. Kevin's temper was becoming harder and harder to deal with. His snarky remarks were getting on my nerves. Gradually, I and both my kids started hating Kevin's presence in the house. We waited for him to go to the office so that we could have a peaceful day at home. His business trips were a vacation for us. Kevin was always cranky when he was at home. The only time we would see him in a good mood was during his monthly house party. Kevin hosted a monthly party at our house for all his officials, business partners, close friends, and key members of the team. Needless to say, it was me who had to organize these every single month. It was fun earlier when Kevin used to partake in organizing events. We used to lay out the whole plan together, meticulously design the theme, finalizing the menu along with thousands other details. I had a gala time organizing this event with him, but over time, as Kevin's attitude changed and he got busier, the entire responsibility of this party came to me. It wasn't a big deal though, as it was a monthly activity and I knew exactly what to do. But one thing which was bothering me now was Kevin's criticism. He criticized me for every tiny thing. Suddenly, he hated my choice of food, cutlery, decoration, and everything else. While the guests would thank and appreciate me for hosting them, Kevin's remarks would be mostly this: "The flower decoration is just so horrible. Why didn't you check this when it was done? The shrimp is not cooked properly. Did you check this when it was delivered? There isn't enough ice cream for the drinks. Why didn't you order more? You've ordered way too much spaghetti. You like wasting food, don't you? The puddings are way too sweet. None of the guests liked it." I was getting exhausted by his constant poking. I just kept a brave face in front of the guests so that no one could suspect our troubled marriage. It was after one such party that I decided to put a halt to Kevin's criticism and confront him. After all the guests were gone and Kevin was in his usual self, criticizing every minute thing of the party, I approached him. "Don't you think that you've been insulting me way too much these days? I mean, I'm doing everything to organize the best party for you and your guests. You don't even help me with the arrangements. Neither you have ever appreciated me for this. But the least you could do is not criticize me over trivial things." Appreciate? Do you want an appreciation for organizing a party? Do you want me to honor you with a medal? Kevin was on with his game of tasteless humor, but I decided to give him back this time. "I don't expect anything nice from you, but at least stop traumatizing me. Do you know how disgusting you sound?" Kevin began his ceaseless rants. "My intellect would disgust only a fool. You are leading this lifestyle on my income. You could wear these expensive clothes and shoes because of me. You should be grateful to me for all of these." Kevin left no opportunity to count all the favors he did to me by providing for my food and clothing. But I had had enough, and now I wanted to give back. "You're not doing me any favor. I run the house. I have raised the kids and I take care of every small detail of the house. You can't survive a day without me in this house. You don't even know how to do the laundry or where to get the groceries from. You don't need to be grateful to me, but at least stop digging at me all the time. You consider this, doing stupid laundry and dishes, as work? There are women out there who can manage both their work as well as their house seamlessly. They are beautiful, smart, and intelligent women. They are efficient in their work as well as perfect in household chores. What are you? A lazy housewife who spends her day watching TV on the couch. Looks like you're too mesmerized by the working woman, aren't you? Kevin turned pale as if he was caught red-handed. He lost his temper and yelled, "How dare you talk back to me? The next time you open your mouth, I'll shove in divorce papers on your face." I was in shock. I didn't see this coming. I decided to put an end to Kevin's humiliation. I wanted to throw the divorce papers in his face and walk away from the marriage at that very instant. But I knew that my case is weak. I had no evidence of Kevin's monstrous behavior. I decided to gather evidence to show the evil side of Kevin to everyone. I meticulously planned everything. I was well aware of Kevin's daily routine and his trigger points, so I decided to install some hidden cameras in the living room and the dining space. The camera was set in a few days, and I began with my plan. The plan was to trigger Kevin so that he would react and his nuisance gets recorded. Kevin didn't need an extreme trigger. Even a 5 minutes late breakfast can instigate him to hurl abuses at me. One morning, I deliberately took extra time to serve breakfast. Kevin wants his breakfast to be served hot, as soon as he sits at the table. He sat at the table with the kids. "Where the hell is the breakfast?" "Just 5 minutes, honey. Meanwhile, have the orange juice kept on the table." After 5 minutes. "How long does it take to prepare a simple breakfast? I'm getting late for the work." "It's almost done. Give me 2 minutes." "Go to hell with your breakfast. I don't have bloody time to sit and wait for it." I rushed from the kitchen and served the sandwiches. The sandwich was roasted a little extra than usual. As soon as Kevin saw the sandwiches, he shouted, "The sandwich looks pathetic. You are serving me parched food." I picked up the sandwich deliberately to show on the camera and said, "It is not burned at all. It's just roasted for a minute longer. It's completely edible." "Don't you dare talk back, you lazy piece of shit. You can't even cook properly. You are of no use to me. Next time you serve a blistered food to me, you'll meet your fate of divorce." He took his bags and stormed out of the house. Me and the kids rolled our eyes and enjoyed the sandwich in peace. After a few days, it was time to record another piece of evidence. Kevin was getting ready for work, and he was not able to find his socks in the closet. He came out to the living room, shouting at the top of his voice, "Where the hell are my socks? Why is it not kept in its usual place?" "I kept it in the other drawer with a handkerchief. My bad." He gasped with exasperation and went back to the room. After a second, he again came out yelling, "There is just one pair of socks. What happened to the rest of them?" "Well, they're dirty. I forgot to send the dirty clothes to the laundry yesterday. I'll do it today. Don't worry." "How can you be so careless about your work? You just have one work, which is to take care of the house, and you slack in that too." "Kevin, there's a fresh pair of socks for today. I'll clean the other pairs today. Why are you making such a fuss about it?" "It is not about the clothes. It is about the discipline." Why am I talking about discipline in front of a useless housewife?" "Why are you always so mean to me, Kevin?" "You need to be taught a lesson. Mind you, if you repeat this carelessness, that will be the end of your happy married life." Saying this, he slammed the door of the bedroom, got ready for work, and left the house. After he left for work, I locked the room and pulled out the camera to check if everything got captured properly. I recorded several instances of such abuse and gaslighting, which was enough to prove my horrendous marriage. Every time Kevin raised his voice at me, I wanted to walk away at that very moment, but I held back. I was patiently waiting for the monthly business party. I had planned a surprise for everyone. This time, I had collected enough evidence to prove my divorce appeal. But I didn't want such an easy escape for Kevin. I wanted to humiliate him in the same way as he does to me. As the event was nearing, I was planning for this big day bit by bit. The event is organized on the lawn outside our house, and this time I ordered a big screen set up. In the invitation email, I asked everyone to send a brief video clip of themselves talking about their favorite adventure in life, which would be played in the monthly event. These activities add fun to an event, and everyone, including Kevin, liked this idea. Yes, you guessed it correctly. I plan to play these recordings at his business party. Everyone in his company should know about Kevin's true color. On the day of the event, after setting up all the arrangements, I came to my room to get ready for the final shot. I took longer than usual to get ready. The guests started coming, and Kevin was alone on the lawn greeting the guests. I knew he would be triggered by this. He marched into the room where I was still getting ready and howled at me. "What the hell? What do you think you are? Are you a celebrity who needs so much time to get ready? No one is here to see your ugly face and your ugly makeup. So just get out of here and serve the guests." I didn't get angry at all. Instead, I was finally feeling happy that Kevin's true colors are going to be exposed in some time. "I'll be there in 10 minutes. 10 minutes? I want to see you outside in the next 5 minutes, or else you meet your fate of divorce today." "Sure thing. If you want a divorce so desperately, I'll fulfill your wish tonight." "What? What did you say? You'll divorce me? And who would feed you? Who would pay for your clothes? Don't put your foot in your mouth. Just get out of this room and serve the guests." I hurriedly went out and greeted everyone. I was genuinely enjoying the evening with everyone, while Kevin was being his usual self, criticizing every bit of the arrangements by sending me an angry look whenever he could. It was time for the fun activity. The setup was ready, and I played all the videos one by one that the guests had sent. While everyone was enjoying each other's video clips, I went to my room to gather the final footage, which I recorded that very evening. I realized that the camera placed in my room was still on. I opened the last recordings of the room to trim out an unnecessary part, and guess what? Something unexpected got recorded into the camera, which I'd never imagined. After I hurriedly came out of the room, leaving the hidden camera on, my husband sneaked into the room with his colleague who works in a senior position in his company. Although they switched off the light and nothing could be seen in the dark, the footage of them sneaking inside the room and switching off the lights was enough to throw hints of what happened there. And of course, the sound got captured. That was the last nail in the coffin. My body was shivering with anxiety. I was skeptical about whether to show this or not, but at that very moment, I heard a voice, which was of Kevin. "Why the hell are you in the room again? The projector screen has stopped displaying. Just go and fix it right away. The guests are waiting for it. The next time I find you resting in this room again during the party, I'll ensure that you get punished for your laziness." I didn't say a word, but I knew what I had to do. I went outside and fixed the screen and added all the footage to the playlist. I held the remote of the screen firmly in my hands as I wait for the horror show to begin. As the videos of the assault started, everyone's faces turned pale. They started staring at each other in shock. Kevin was having a gala time with his clients when he noticed himself on the screen, hurling abuses at me, gaslighting and humiliating me. Kevin was parched with anger and frustration. 7 hells broke loose on him that evening. He pounced on me. "Stop this right now!" He tried to snatch the remote from my hands, but in the presence of his business partners and clients, he could not do anything. It was my time to avenge the trauma and humiliation I was subjected to in all these years. This is just the trailer, the recordings of the full movie, which will be sent to the police. But let me show the climax to everyone. I told you that if you're so desperate about getting the divorce, you'll get it tonight. I fast-forwarded the video to the last footage where Kevin was seen entering the room with the woman. I stopped the video right there. That glimpse was enough for everyone to understand what was happening. No one expected the evening to turn out like this. Kevin's mistress left the party in a hurry, hiding her face. Kevin locked himself in the bathroom to avoid the embarrassment. The air was filled with whispers and gossip. I broke down when some of Kevin's friends hugged me. Over the years, I made friends with them, and they tried to support me in this moment of weakness. I felt bad for my children that they had to undergo this trauma, but to my surprise, they patted me, saying, "Well done, Mom. I'm so proud of you. I'm glad you stood for yourself, finally. Yeah, let's go. We can't stay here any longer." I had already packed everything for me and my children. I knew that we couldn't stay in that house after this event. I went to my parents' house. My dad passed away a few years ago and my mom was living alone, so she was glad to host us. Besides, my dad had left us a decent inheritance, which was enough for us to lead a happy life. I hired my father's lawyer and sent the divorce terms to Kevin, claiming the alimony and share in his business along with the child support. During the trial, Kevin gave me a disgruntled look as if he would dismantle my bones if he got the slightest chance. Kevin tried to sue me on charges of defamation, but it was overruled because my claims were true. It took a year for the divorce and the cases to be settled. I got the alimony and the child support. After that incident, many of his friends and colleagues reached out to offer support to me. They were shocked to see Kevin in such a monstrous avatar. He lost his reputation in front of his business partners and clients. Needless to say that his business suffered because of this, and his employees looked down upon him. Kevin and his mistress had no intention of marrying each other. They were just having fun by cheating on their partners. Soon, this news reached the mistress's husband, and she was shown the door by her husband. My objection was not to harm anyone. I only wanted to expose the evil side of Kevin to the world and stand up for myself and my kids. I want that my kids learn the value of loyalty and self-respect. It is a matter of a few years before my kids will be grown up and will take charge of their life. Until then, we are living with my mother like a happy family. I'm Olive, and I'm 30 years old. My husband Walter is 35, and he's been working overseas for the past year. I was left behind in our home country working a job I hated and struggling to make ends meet. The plan was for Walter to send money back home each month to support me and our families, more specifically his mother, Linda. Initially, the decision to financially support his mother was a decision we made together. I was more than happy to take care of Linda in his absence. I loved that woman, but soon things took a turn for the worse. Instead of only sending her money once in a while, as was initially agreed upon, Walter started demanding that I send money to her every single month to support her. At first, even though I had slight reservations, I didn't complain about it. After all, Linda was family, and I was happy to help. But as time went on and as life and work got harder, sending money to Linda every month was becoming a challenge. When I told him that we couldn't afford to keep paying her every month, he would normally berate me, brush it off, and accuse me of being selfish and lazy. Growing up, I was always taught to be a good wife, to support my husband no matter what, and to always put my family first. But my resolve, as you can probably imagine, was slowly dissolving. I didn't care for the blatant rudeness and disrespect, but unfortunately I wasn't the type of girl who was taught to stand up for herself and demand that I be treated the way that I deserve, with respect and kindness. So, because I was unable to send over the money for some months, Walter would find out and he would call me and shout at me, telling me how I was a terrible wife and daughter-in-law for not supporting his mother. Even though Linda was okay with not receiving money every month, understanding how hard it was to juggle life and expenses, Walter was acting like I wasn't doing the best I could. One day, he even bashed me over the phone, telling me that I was useless and that I didn't care about his family. Hello, Walter. How are you? I'm not doing so well, Walter. Why? What's wrong? It's about the money you keep asking me to send to your mother. What about it? You keep getting angry when I can't send it every month. You bashed me over the phone the other day, and I'm still upset over it. Well, if you would just send the money on time, I wouldn't have to get angry, would I? But I can't always send it on time, Walter. I have bills to pay and other responsibilities. Responsibilities? What responsibilities could be more important than taking care of my mother? I have a life too, Walter, and I can't keep living like this, always worrying about your mother's finances. I can't believe you would say that. You're my wife, Olive. Taking care of my family should be your top priority. And what about me, Walter? Don't I matter? Don't my feelings matter? Of course you matter, Olive. But right now, my mother needs our help. I need your help too, Walter. I need you to understand how I'm feeling and to support me. And that was when it hit me. My husband, the man I loved and trusted, had betrayed me. He had put his mother's needs above mine and had made me feel like I wasn't good enough. But I wouldn't let him get away with it. I would seek revenge and make him pay for what he had done to me. As I struggled with my emotions, I couldn't help but feel a sense of betrayal. I had always supported Walter, through thick and thin, but now it felt like he had turned against me. I couldn't help but wonder if he had always felt this way, if he had always put his mother's needs above mine. But as I sat there, stewing in my anger and frustration, a new feeling began to emerge. Determination. I knew that I couldn't let Walter get away with treating me this way. I needed to take action, seek revenge, and make him pay for what he had done to me. At first, I wasn't sure how to go about it. I had never been the type of person to seek revenge, plot and scheme, and manipulate those around me. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I had no choice. I needed to stand up for myself, to show Walter that he couldn't treat me this way and get away with it. And so I began to plan. I researched ways to get back at him, to make him feel the same pain and humiliation that he had inflicted upon me. I reached out to old friends and allies, people who could help me with my quest for revenge. And slowly but surely, I began to feel a sense of purpose, of direction that I had never felt before. Looking back on that time in my life, I can't help but feel grateful for the experience. It was a difficult and painful journey, but it taught me so much about myself, about what I was capable of, and about the importance of standing up for oneself. And now, as I prepare to enact my revenge upon Walter, I know that I am stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. As I began to plan my revenge, I knew that I couldn't do it alone. I needed allies, people who could help me in my mission to take down Walter. And so I turned to Linda, my mother-in-law. Linda and I had always had a close relationship. She was kind, sweet, and loving, and she always appreciated everything I did for her. But I had never told her about the abuse that Walter had been inflicting upon me. I was ashamed and embarrassed and didn't want to cause any tension between her and her son. Hello, Linda. I have something important to tell you, but it's quite hard. What is it, honey? It's about Walter. He's been treating me terribly. He's been bashing me for not sending monthly allowance to you, and it's been taking a toll on me. I can't take it anymore. Linda's eyes widened in shock and concern. Oh, my dear, I had no idea. Why didn't you tell me? I was afraid that it would hurt our relationship, but now I need your help. I need allies, people who can help me take down Walter and make him pay for what he's done to me. Linda nodded, her expression firm and resolute. You have my full support, Olive. We will do whatever it takes to make things right, but first, I need more context. I began to relay more details about the fight that we had earlier, and as I got deeper and deeper into the story, Linda's eyes got wider and wider. She also got quite angry to find out that my husband Walter was treating me in such a horrid way. She was also slightly upset with me as I didn't come to her with this information earlier. I apologized and we cried together and consoled each other about our circumstances. As I delved deeper into the subject of verbal and emotional abuse that is happening, I realized that I had been foolish to keep it all a secret. Linda was more than happy to support me in any way she could, and she was outraged at the way Walter had been treating me. Of course I'll help you, my dear. I'm so sorry to hear that Walter has been treating you this way. You don't deserve it, and I will do anything I can to help you. We need to teach that man a lesson. Over the next few weeks, Linda became my closest ally in my quest for revenge. She helped me gather information about Walter's whereabouts and habits, and she even provided me with some of the resources I would need to carry out my plan. But perhaps more importantly, Linda provided me with the emotional support that I needed to keep going. It had been so long since I got any form of emotional support that it was so refreshing and relaxing to be in this new lifestyle. She listened to me when I needed to vent, and she encouraged me to keep going when I felt like giving up. And for that, I will always be grateful. As I sit here now, waiting for the final phase of my plan to unfold, I am filled with a sense of purpose and determination. With Linda by my side and my sights set on Walter, I know that I am capable of anything. And at the time, as I thought about the look on his face when he sees what I have in store for him, I couldn't help but smile. As Linda and I continued to plan our revenge against Walter, we knew that we needed to be smart about it. We needed to come up with a plan that would make him realize the error of his ways without causing any lasting damage to our relationships. And then, one day, it hit me. What if we went on vacation together, just me and Linda? We could take lots of lovely selfies and pictures and send them to Walter. It would show him that we were having a great time together and maybe make him realize that he needed to be more loving and prioritize his marriage as well as his love for his mother. I love that idea, Olive. Let's do it. And we can make sure to take lots of pictures together to drive the point home. Over the next few days, we planned our trip with meticulous detail. We researched the best resorts, the most picturesque spots, and the most delicious restaurants. We packed our bags with the perfect outfits, and we made sure to bring plenty of sunscreen and snacks. Even though we were already complaining about money, we knew that we both needed a break, and that life wasn't just about working yourself to the bone. This vacation would kill two birds with one stone. Linda and I would get closer and closer, and we would show Walter that this was what was meant by living, not working tirelessly to make money that you'll never enjoy. And finally, the day of our trip arrived. We boarded the plane with excited anticipation, knowing that we were about to embark on a journey that would change everything. But more than that, I knew that Linda and I had forged an unbreakable bond through our shared experience. And no matter what happened next, I knew that I would always have her by my side. Linda and I decided to take a trip to Bali. We spent hours lounging on the beach, drinking cocktails, eating delicious food. It was a much-needed break from the stresses of everyday life. I am so happy we could spend this time together, Olive. Thank you for taking me with you. Of course, Linda. You deserve to be spoiled every once in a while. I hope you're having a good time. I am having a wonderful time. You're such a good daughter-in-law, Olive. You're like a second mother to me, Linda. I'm glad we could take this trip together. But remember, we have to take lots of pictures to send to Walter. I want him to see how happy we are together. I want him to realize that he's being too hard on me and that he needs to be more supportive. Let's take as many pictures as we can. Yes, let's do that. We'll make sure to take pictures of us doing fun things and enjoying ourselves, and then I'll send them to him and he'll see what he's been missing out on. You're so smart, Olive. I'm sure he'll come around once he sees how happy we are together. I hope so, Linda. I do. As we sat on the beach, soaking up the sun and taking countless selfies, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. This was it. This was the revenge I had been waiting for. And as we sent our pictures to Walter, I knew that he was feeling the sting of his behavior. Sadly, this vacation had to be short-lived, considering our funds were low. As much as we wanted to stay and enjoy some more, we couldn't do that. As we returned from our vacation, I felt both anxious and excited to put my plan into action. Walter had no idea what was coming, and I couldn't wait to see his reaction. When I arrived home, I immediately set my plan in motion. I took a few more selfies with Linda, making sure to capture all the beautiful moments and the beautiful tans we got when we were on our trip. I then carefully selected the perfect photos, one where Linda and I were sitting on the beach holding hands and smiling. I knew this photo would get to Walter, and I couldn't wait to see his reaction. Are you ready to put this plan into action, girl? I was born ready. He needs to be humbled. That's the spirit. Now send him those pictures. I sent that picture to Walter, and I waited for him to see it. He saw it almost immediately, but there was no response. I proceeded to bombard him with many photos and videos we took on that trip, and that's when he called me. What the hell is this? Why did you send me this picture of you and my mother? I tried to remain calm as I replied. Well, Walter, I just wanted to remind you that I am your wife and I deserve to be treated with respect. You've been bashing me for not sending money to your mother every month, but what about me? What about our marriage? Don't I deserve some attention too? Okay, but why are you taking pictures with my mother? Because there is enough space for the both of us to thrive and enjoy life. Mom, when did you get here? I was with Olive way before we took that trip to Bali. Bali? Do you know how expensive vacationing is? It's ridiculous, right? I wish we stayed longer. Now you listen here. I don't like the way you've been treating Olive. You told her? Of course she told me, and I'm extremely angry and disappointed with you. I didn't raise you like this. Why are you treating your wife like she's the dirt underneath your shoe, when she's the one who's holding down the fort back home? What if she just decided to up and leave and marry a wealthier man? We all know she has the looks for it. But here you are, berating her even though she's doing her best every single day. I told you to stop sending me allowance money months ago. I really don't need that much. When you were sending the money, I thought that you were good for it. I didn't know you two were struggling. And here you are, making it worse for your wife when you need to be supporting her. Now you better apologize for all of the stress you put her through instead of shouting at her and berating her for no good reason. Why don't you put that same energy into working harder so that you can have more money? Walter was silent for a few moments. This was the first time I saw him stunned and completely speechless. And then something more shocking came about. He started to cry. Linda and I kept silent as we heard him sob over the phone. I'm so sorry, Olive. I didn't realize how much I was neglecting you. I've been so focused on my mother's needs that I forgot completely about yours. Please forgive me. I understand you, Walter, and honestly, your mother is right. If someone else was in my shoes, they probably would have left you by now. But I'm stuck beside you through thick and thin. I'm afraid I won't allow you to abuse me anymore. You have to be kinder, and you have to be more lenient. I understand, Olive. I promise that my behavior will change. I will never take you for granted ever again. We cut the call, and Linda expressed how proud she was of me for standing up for myself like that. Honestly, I was shocked myself too with the way that I stood up for myself. As the weeks turned into months, the resolution of our confrontation continued to unfold. Walter made a sincere effort to mend our relationship and prove his commitment to change. He started by actively participating in our conversations, asking about my day and expressing genuine interest in my thoughts and feelings. It was as if a new level of understanding had blossomed between us. We embarked on a journey of rediscovery, taking the time to communicate openly and honestly about our needs and desires. We attended couples therapy together, where we learned valuable tools to strengthen our bond and cultivate a healthier dynamic. The therapy sessions provided a safe space for us to address past wounds and heal together. In the process, I also shared with Walter the emotional toll his expectations regarding his mother's financial support had taken on me. He genuinely listened and expressed regret for the pressure he had unknowingly placed upon me. Together, we established clearer boundaries and found a compromise that balanced our responsibilities to both our families and our well-being. The resolution of our conflict had a ripple effect on those around us. Linda, who had been unaware of the extent of our struggles, witnessed the transformation in our relationship with joy and relief. She praised our efforts to rebuild our connection and was grateful for the newfound harmony in our lives. I know you two will be all right. You just hit a rough patch in the road, but I'm glad that this situation managed to bring us closer together as mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. There aren't even enough of those healthy relationships dynamics. So going on that trip together was beautiful for us. Thanks once again, Olive. It was my pleasure. Thank you for helping me out. Our journey wasn't without its challenges, and there were times when doubts crept in. Lingering insecurities and the remnants of past grievances occasionally resurfaced, threatening to cast shadows over our progress. However, through open communication and a shared commitment to growth, we faced these challenges head on, ensuring that they didn't hinder our newfound happiness. As time went on, the resolution brought a sense of closure and healing. The wounds caused by our previous conflicts slowly faded, replaced by a deeper understanding and appreciation for one another. We learned from our mistakes and vowed never to take each other for granted again. The experience taught me the importance of standing up for oneself and demanding the respect and love we all deserve in a relationship. It also emphasized the power of forgiveness and the potential for growth and transformation within even the most broken of connections. In the end, our resolution wasn't solely just about revenge or proving a point. It was about rekindling the love that had initially brought us together. It was a testament to the resilience of love and the transformative power of self-reflection and personal growth. And as we moved forward together, we did so with a renewed sense of hope and a commitment to nurturing our marriage, cherishing the lessons learned along the way. I knew that my plan had worked. I had finally gotten through to Walter and made him see the error of his ways. From that day on, he started to prioritize our marriage, and we were happier than ever before. Looking back on it now, I realized that my revenge was not about hurting Walter. It was about making him understand how his actions were affecting me and our marriage. And in the end, it all worked out.